Hello, hello! That's what I'm talking about. Now, let me see if I can do this real quick before I get started here. I can do it. I can do it. Welcome, everybody. We did it. Another sold-out Jersey City Tech Meetup event. Everyone give yourself a round of applause. We made it. Very exciting night tonight. Very excited. I don't usually do these, but I'm very excited to do one more specific about kind of developers and what it takes to ship products for consumers and not just about features. So really excited to partner with PostHog on tonight's event. And we have a really exciting format coming up. So before I jump into it, I have a little bit of housekeeping. And then we have two awesome presentations and then a quick panel. So we're gonna keep it all pretty tight, but I want this to be interactive. So as we go through everything, ask questions. We're gonna be a family here tonight in this amazing room with the sunset happening behind us. So appreciate y'all being here. So for those who don't know, this is the Jersey City Tech Meetup. Even though I live in Brooklyn, I've been running this thing for almost 10 years now. I used to live in Jersey City. I love it very much here, and I find that a lot of the events happen over there all the time. And there's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of innovation and tech happening right here in Jersey City. So when I realized no one was continuing to really host events in Jersey City, I was like, you know what, I can come back from Brooklyn and do this for the community. We're going to be doing events, I'd say quarterly, but maybe more possible. Either way, get involved and join the meetup so that you can continue knowing what's going on and what's happening on this side of the river. Just one quick little note. Most of these events are free, as you know, and we usually don't charge our members for anything, but with a lot of fees happening on the meetup platform and things like that, we've recently introduced a $5 a month membership due to be part of this community. So if you love these events, if you love coming out when we do these, please support the meetup so we can keep these things going over here in Jersey City. With that said, who's new? Whose first Jersey City Tech Meetup event is this? Show of hands. All right, I feel like we got a lot of new people every time. Give yourself a round of applause. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate you being part of this. Who's been here before? I see a couple familiar faces. All right, nice. Round of applause for you too. Thanks for coming back. And who thinks they came from the furthest away today, besides me? Where'd you come from?
South Jersey.
Ooh, South Jersey. How far of a drive is that?
About an hour and a half.
In rush hour traffic?
No, not rush hour.
That's still pretty far. I don't come from further than South Jersey?
Well, I guess close, Staten Island.
Staten Island. All right, that's close. But I think South Jersey's the furthest. So we're going to give you a prize, all right? We're going to make this fun. Come on. I forgot to mention PostHog. I'm going to toss it to you. Everyone, watch out. Watch out. Oh, there's a lot of drinks. All right, well, France? Oh, you're from France. You know what? You get yourself a hat, Mr. French. There's some. All right, so here's the deal. Since PostHog is one of the sponsors of the event, they have some swag, and for those who engage throughout the night, we'll be tossing it out. I'll not toss it because there's a lot of drinks, so I'll ask Amari to help me over here. Shout out to Amari. She's been helping set this event up, and she's amazing. She's wonderful. Thank you. All right, so to learn more, just hit up jctechmeetup.com. You can join our monthly JC Tech monthly newsletter to see what's happening in Jersey City, some events around here, some innovation in tech from New Jersey. So join that. Shout out to our sponsors. You're gonna hear from all of them. We got PostHog. Round of applause for Apprentice for this wonderful space, the food and drink and view and everything. So round of applause for PostHog, Apprentice. Generative AI Network, besides the Tech Meetup, I'm also part of a global network of 150,000 members. We help people figure out where to incorporate AI into their startups or their enterprise organizations, and we also support with sales and marketing to kind of get those initiatives off the ground. And intro stars. So, real quick, I want to mention this. I know a lot of people here connect with each other, consider themselves super connectors. Has anyone here ever been like me where, you introduce some people and you feel really good about it? You're like, wow, they're best friends now. They do a deal and everyone makes a bunch of money and then you don't? Yeah. Does that ever happen? Yeah. Same. So I don't do that anymore. But Intro Stars, I've actually just joined as their New York City community leader. They're a company based out of London, and the whole platform is around making introductions and getting paid for your actual introductions and referrals. And building your community that way. Right now, I'm helping to get this launched in the New York, Jersey City area, and there's not that many users in this region, so it's really easy to win one of the slots for a free round-trip flight to London. I know it's fun to go visit Big Ben. I personally like to visit that because I am Ben. So if you want to monetize your connections, build your network, and potentially win a free round-trip flight, you can hop on the platform. It's totally free to sign up, and even to create a listing on there, you can use that code to do it for free. So no charge to you, just opportunity and upside. So very excited to be part of that. So join Interest Stars, y'all. All right, this is that part where y'all win hats and shirts, because we have a pretty tight schedule, so we're gonna keep this very short, but if you have an upcoming event or initiative or thing that you want to share with the community here and have people join, that's what we're all about. This is community, this is a network, and we're here to support each other. So we got a big room here, so I'm just gonna kind of point at you and I want you to shout, but if you have something you want to share, keep it 30 seconds or less. Yes, sir.
So I run a monthly meetup for people in the tech industry in North New Jersey called New Jersey Code and Coffee. Our next event is on the 18th. Actually, we're doing a couple of events during North Tech Week, which is from the 13th to the 17th of October. Just check us out, New Jersey Code and Coffee on Meetup.
Wonderful.
Check out New York Tech Week.
All right, we'll check it out. Cool. Hat or shirt?
Sure.
Mark, can you? Well, what's that? We can figure that out. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Nikolai, co-founder of Comma, from France actually, here for 2 weeks.
I heard he
We're
won a hat.
hosting an open bar for people that work in IT, tech, security in downtown Manhattan. I don't know if there's a way to share a Luma invite later, if there's a channel or something. Otherwise, speak to me and then I'll send you the invite for an open bar on Thursday.
Thank you. What I'll do is, after this event, I'm gonna send everyone a follow-up email with some information. If you said something you want to share, just reply to me and I'll compile it and send that out to the whole network. Cool. Janet.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Janet Alasay and I host Tech Walks here in Jersey City. The next one is a week from Thursday at 9 a.m. We meet right in front of the Exchange Place Park train station. Hope to see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Janet. Janet's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I am Kasia Bartos. I am one of the co-organizers of New York City's Grand River Group. So if anyone is interested, this is one of the eldest groups that's on the market right now. 16 years will be celebrated in about 2 weeks. So if anyone is interested, please join us. And it will be in a World Trade Center building. So sign up on Meetup. We will accept you, and you will meet a lot of nice people. And the subjects are very common with what is on agenda today. So Agile as Scrum is all about working with customers. So basically, that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. So you're all welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We have 3 more. So yes, back there.
I don't host any events, but if you build any mobile app platforms, or you just need more engineers and you want a very free launch at the very festival, talk to me and we will discuss your technical challenges. Oh, I was nervous for that.
You did great, and you're absolutely good. Give a round of applause. Come on. This is great. We're all here to support each other, and I appreciate it. All right, we have 2 more back here.
Hi, my name is Sheikhu Karoma. I have been running a motivation. I run a business called Street Motivations. I'm not really here to post anything, but basically what my company does is streamline process to create custom automation skills to your business. Right now, my niche is focused towards nonprofits, but I can pretty much bring automation for anybody. I just want to bring out for automations for everybody.
All right, thank you. And by the way, if you spoke, make sure Amari is doing great getting all the merch to y'all, so just make sure you don't miss your merch. I think we have 1 more over here.
Hi everyone, my name is Ari Duki. I am a
soon-to-be co-founder with my founder here, Ali Fulethgar, and we have a new networking app as a tech startup. So what it is in 30 seconds, it's a real-time geo-based networking app. So we see here there's about maybe 100, 200 people in the room, and let's say you're looking for something very specific, you're looking for a business partner, and you're walking around talking to maybe 20 people at once, and you don't find the person you're looking for. So what this app is to tell you who is in the room with you. It's gonna make more efficient, more intentional connections, and if you're interested in that, come find me or the founder here, and you can download the app. It's called Bridget Social. Thank you.
Nice. All right, round of applause for the community. I always love coming back to Jersey City. Everyone here is so great, knowing cool stuff. So, all right, we have a lot to cover now. We're gonna jump into it. I want to pass the mic over to Abe here from Post Hog. He's going to talk about some really awesome stuff that has to do with shipping products and what Post Hog does to help everybody with that. So, give it up for Abe, everybody. Or if you want to talk, okay, could you just do the next slide? Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I'm Abe from Post Hog. I'm a product manager there. And for those of you who don't know us, just quick background. We build a suite of developer tools to help you build successful products. We include things like product analytics, error tracking, session replay, but we also have 10 other products, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. Today, I want to talk about product engineering and sort of the role that we have. We hire product engineers more than we hire software engineers, and so I want to talk about sort of what that role is, what are sort of the upsides, when it works, and sort of when it doesn't. So we can start off with what is product engineering? So, the next one, please. The way sort of we think about it at Post Hog is that it's more of an autonomous engineer. They're responsible for the product, and sort of the way it's different to like say a standard engineering role is that a product engineer sort of doesn't wait for spec'd out tickets. You don't wait for a Figma design file. They do go and talk to users. They don't leave bugs for a QA team. And they're also just a lot more involved in product direction. You're supposed to have sort of a perspective and a point of view, and you want to bring that in and sort of like tell the team and talk about it. So that's sort of what a product engineer is. There's some other things to mention here. So if that sounds pretty great, like if that's sort of like the role you wanted, I do want to point out that it's not like all amazing. There are sort of trade-offs. There's a reason why the process is sort of at bigger companies, and why the roles are so much more clearly separated. And I'll talk about sort of like why it works at Post Hog and some other companies. So we've talked about what a product engineer is. When does it work at a company and when doesn't? I'd say that sort of the biggest places where, like the places where it sort of makes the most amount of sense is where there's small teams and there isn't a lot of coordination overhead. So at Post Hog, for example, we have teams of a max size of 6 only. So we do have like 100 people. We just have lots of small teams, and product engineers are able to operate more autonomously in that sort of smaller team size. Other reasons why it sort of makes sense at our company and maybe other companies where it could make sense is where there's sort of like a high need to ship things quickly, where mistakes are okay. So there's some industries, for example, where you need a lot of process, maybe sort of fintech or healthcare, where you can't just go out and make mistakes. At Post Hog, our engineers make lots of mistakes. That's okay. They ship something, they roll it back. That's fine. Another reason why it sort of makes sense at our company and some other companies where it may also make sense is you need to make sure that the company's post PMF. It's much easier for engineers to know what to do if you're not trying to figure out how to survive. And then sort of another interesting thing that I noticed is the product engineering role sort of it works out a lot better in B2B companies. I haven't seen it work as much in B2C companies, and I can chat about that later if you're interested why. But I think a big part of the reason is in B2C companies there's a lot more experimentation, and engineers sort of can't just vibe guess what you have to build next. You need to sort of test out a bunch of things. And the other thing I should mention is where it may not make sense is also where if a company is sort of more sales-led, then it doesn't really make sense to have a product engineer coming up with what to build next. Like you have a much clearer roadmap of features and it's sort of all spec'd out. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. That was like a super quick intro. If you guys are interested in like the product engineer role, either at Post Hog or you want to talk about it a bit more, feel free to reach out to me and we can chat. Thank you.
Round of applause for Abe. Thank you. Thanks so much, Dave. Want to give someone a shirt or a hat? Come on. Keep the branding. Well, yeah, that guy wants the most. All right, well, we're going to hear more from Abe on the panel coming up shortly, but now I want to call up Angelo, who is the founder of Apprentice and this wonderful space here. And this is about 7 years ago, we did an event with them right around Halloween, and we're really bringing it back. You know, I think 7 is a good number for Halloween. So thanks, Angelo, for having us again. I appreciate it, and over to you.
Yeah, awesome. The last time we hosted a meetup was in our other office on Christopher Columbus, so about 5 blocks from here, and it was probably about a quarter of the size of this room. And so very excited that you have a chance to come here into the office. I'm very happy that all of you guys are here. And I heard earlier you mentioned about the membership fee. So I'm gonna do this live, but we're gonna donate 100 memberships for a JC Tech meetup for the full year.
Oh! So, thank you, Angelo. A hat for Angelo.
Plenty of swag. But in all seriousness, I really do believe in this meetup. I believe in this community. I was born here in Jersey City. I grew up here in Jersey City, went to school here, and obviously my company is here now. And so I believe in the meetup, I believe in the community, and I don't want to create a barrier for anybody to come to these events. And so I'll take 100, and I hope to see you more at a future event.
Thanks so much.
But what I wanted to talk to you about today was at the last Jersey City Tech meetup, we talked about AI and what it means for the industry, what it means for being outside the industry. What does AI mean? So today I wanted to kind of translate what I had talked about the last time, which was using AI when you're building products, thank you, to focus on leveraging it in your product to drive and solve lower value tasks so your humans can focus on higher value goals. And so for us, just to give you a little bit of introduction, in case you don't know much about Apprentice, been around for coming up on our 11th year now. We've raised over $200 million, founded right here in Jersey City. As you can see, I have a bunch of my employees here throughout the space. But when I think about AI for us, and I really believe this, is not just to be an addition to the process. And so what do I mean by that? When we got started 10 years ago, we first were focusing on augmented reality. If you actually walk around the office, you'll see these headsets on the left-hand side of the wall. It was where we got started using head-worn devices, and if you're familiar, many years ago with Google Glass, this is going back over a decade now, that was what our software was first built on. That taught me a lot, because what it taught me, which is applicable today to AI, is that if you're building an AI solution that's a nice to have, that is a solution that's on top of a core solution, when you build a business around it, it's going to create some real challenges. Because what we ended up doing was we went from being a nice to have solution with a head-worn device and Google Glass to then building out what back in 2014 now, a full modern manufacturing system for, in our case, for life sciences. And for those of you that aren't familiar with New Jersey, New Jersey has 3,000 pharma and biotech companies. It's the highest density in the world. So, for us, a company like this is the perfect place to be. But the takeaway is that in order for us to do what we wanted to do with AI, we had to build the core platform over a long period of time, number one. But number two, that building the core platform gave us access to the data. Because even 10 years ago, we named the company Apprentice, because I knew one day, I thought it was going to be much faster in 10 years, but I knew one day that there was going to be a type of software that you had to work together with the human to create an outcome that neither the human nor machine alone could do. And so fast forward 10 years later, we set all these building blocks throughout the years to be able to then access, in our case, all the manufacturing data, because now, not only can we do conversational AI, which you're all familiar with, I ask a question, I get an answer back, but then we built out agentic AI, and I'm going to show you what this all looks like here in a second, where now the AI takes action, and now what we just launched a week ago, which, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure even in the broader AI ecosystem, forget manufacturing, this is also new and unique, which is instead of the AI waiting for a human to give it a prompt or give it an action, the AI takes predictive action on behalf of the human. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about, because as you think about your AI journeys and you're building it into your product, I just don't want you guys to lose sight of the core foundational platform, the core foundational workflows you're solving. Because if you get those right, boy, can you do some fun stuff. Because obviously you're quite familiar with conversational AI. Whoops. Shane, can you play for me? So you're very familiar with conversational AI, but what does that look like in product, right? If you're building your own platform, not ChatGPT, in our case, this is our manufacturing platform. It runs on iOS. And so what we did is we used an LLM to give our customers context. So when they're manufacturing on the shop floor, they can ask a question. What happened on the last shift? What exceptions have occurred? What is coming up next? How do I think about this part in the process? And the first thing we did was we gave the AI context. Because once the AI has context, and the rest of this all, by the way, is our core platform, but again, this has nothing to do with AI. The first thing we did was when we were thinking about building the product, we needed to make sure the AI had context on what it was doing. That was kind of step one. Because without context, AI is kind of dumb. Let me rephrase that. AI is very capable. I'm impressed by it every day. But for your specific product, it will give you a subpar result because it lacks the context to give an appropriate response back to the user. So the first thing we had to do was make sure it had context about our workflow, our data, which in our case was manufacturing data. So that was step one. It was, if you're thinking about these AI products, build a core platform, get the data, feed the data in the context of the LLM. But step two, we're going to skip over this because this is what's coming in the future, is voice-enabled AI. We're going to come back to that. But the next thing was, okay, once it has context, I want this AI to do something. I want it to provide value to my users, in our case, manufacturing. So the first thing we did was we built an AI tool. This is kind of simple. You'll see it's going to get more advanced, where now the AI can upload a PDF of an existing, it's called manufacturing recipe, like it's literally called a recipe, like you make cake. Instead you make wildly sophisticated personalized medicine drugs. So you upload it, you can give direction to the AI, ask it to make recommendations, and what this will do is it'll then spit out at the end a fully digital version of the manufacturing recipe. And why that matters is we're solving a workflow problem, which right now it takes a couple of weeks to create a manufacturing recipe. So think about this. There's one way to use AI in product to just be a tool or a co-pilot, whatever. We're trying to solve a workflow. So pause there for a second, Shane, if you don't mind. So in this case, this is our recipe designer for manufacturing. Instead of doing this all manually, we want the AI to do it on behalf of the human. So when you're thinking about product design with AI, it's, well, what workflows can the AI attack and do on behalf of the human? Because if you can do that, there's a ton of value. In this case, the value is very simple. It's authoring a manufacturing recipe. But what happens if we then want to actually make some drugs? So Shane is going to be, he's going to show up here as my famous assistant. This over here is our augmented reality tool, so you can use a headset. You actually see Shane in a minute with the headset on, and I'm embarrassing him now. But the takeaway is if you're manufacturing something, and you have a human performing a task, well, now you can have the AI, which is this little blue bubble, executing a manufacturing recipe autonomously. So now what we're doing is we're moving into a different world. We're attacking the execution, there's Shane, but what's happening is the AI is looking at the data coming off of that bioreactor, which, by the way, is in our office over there. You can go take a look. It is looking at the dissolved oxygen levels coming off of that reactor, and it made a decision. The AI made a decision. And this is the most important takeaway that I hope you take from today, which is it's not just about AI asking a question, getting an answer. It's not just about AI creating digital content, generating content. It's about AI moving towards making a decision. And that decision, in our case, is for manufacturing, right? In our case, we want to make some drugs, we want to interact with the equipment, we want to do things faster than a human ever could. But as you're thinking about AI in your product builds, it's where can AI provide a level of value, where is there opportunity for it to make decisions, and how can that then assist, in my case, Shane, how can it help Shane do his job better, which is to ultimately make sure that that batch of drugs gets out to a patient somewhere in the world. And so what's crazy about this is you can go now even one step further. So I'm not going to show this. This is way too hardcore into pharma. But this starts to set the stage for things. You know what, we're going to skip that one too in the interest of time. Now let's get to the good stuff. So you're already familiar with ChatGPT question and answer. I just introduced, at least, if you're not familiar with agentic AI, it's AI that can take action. Well, now it's AI that can then predict what action to take. Because in our case, what we found was that in the total universe of exceptions that occur in manufacturing, so what does that mean? You're making a drug product and a mistake happens, right? 75% of those issues, those errors, were correlated with 5 different, we call them exception types. So think of it as 5 types of errors that happened in manufacturing. That's bad, because for us, that workflow, again, for our users, exceptions are bad, errors are bad, and when you're making drugs, that's even worse, right? So what we want to do then is say, how can we eliminate errors from happening before they're even in the drug product, even in the process? And so what we're now doing is we're leveraging AI where we will run 50 different simulations using not large language models, but good old-fashioned machine learning. Like, what's old is new again, everybody. Because you can leverage these existing machine learning models to make predictions. And if they can make predictions, you can then leverage them to then proactively interface and interact with the human. So check this out now. So the AI, or it's not AI, it's machine learning. The machine learning, we ran simulations against, or really it was a regression run against 50 different prior runs. What it then did is it looked for the errors that typically occur in the process. Where do errors occur, right? Where do they occur? And then what this will do is, this is Bob just going through his process. Bob is just following the instructions. Bob's working in manufacturing. But the predictive agent will proactively message Bob now and say, Bob, we typically have seen exceptions and errors occur in this area before. Bob, you should probably take a look at that, Bob. And Bob, here's a recommendation on what to do. So this is a shift, right? Think about this. All the AI I've used to date is request response. It's either a question as a request and an answer as a response, or it's a click a button as a request and I get an agentic workflow as a response. Well, we believe the next iteration, the version of all this, is to move towards proactivity of the AI and to take action on behalf of the human before something occurs. And so you can really get wild with this, because not only can you send a message, you can provide recommendations. So again, this is Bob now, going through his process, following a manufacturing recipe, and then Bob will get to a step where then what the AI will do, and maybe we can fast forward a bit, Shane, just in the interest of time. Not to that one. Yeah, just in the YouTube video here. Fast forward. Okay, here. And so in this case, not only is it sending Bob a message saying, hi Bob, take a look at this issue, but it's making a recommendation on what the human should do in that moment. Because the goal is, if the AI knows where errors occur, in our case, we're trying to solve error rates, right? You guys can solve whatever you want. But in our case, we are proactively looking for what may happen and go wrong. In this case, we're making a recommendation. So as you're thinking about developing your own AIs and your products, think about how not only can you ask a question and get an answer, not only take action, but how can you proactively take action to predict what the user is going to do? Because then at the end of all this, the whole build-up, the next slide, is we want to then proactively take action on behalf of the human. Because in our world, exceptions are so bad that you can lose a drug product. And if you lose a drug product, you're not just losing up to $10 million for a batch of drugs, it's creating drug shortages. Like, I'm sure all of you read about manufacturing in the news and drugs in the news and all this stuff. The reality is that it's really, really, really hard to make these complex biologics, these personalized medicines, these cell and gene therapy molecules. And the reality is that if a human makes a mistake, in the case of personalized medicine, this is going to be really heavy for a second, but if the human makes a mistake and loses a batch, they're not just losing a batch of drugs, the patient dies. Period, full stop. Because it takes about 60 days for the drug to get back to the patient, and this is their last hope. That's it. Chemo failed, surgery failed, their last hope is this drug, and if Bob makes a mistake, the patient dies. So it's so critical in our case that the AI makes sure that not only is Bob following the right process, not only is Bob doing what he's supposed to do, not only were we trying to avoid Bob making an error, but if Bob's just tired and Bob's distracted, we will take action on his behalf in order to make sure that that drug product gets to that patient and that patient has a chance of survival. So this is where, as you're thinking about your AI journeys and how do you build it into your product, I know the big theme of today was building AI products and how do you think about all this. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of a world view on at least how we think about AI here at Apprentice, not only conversationally, not only agentically, but now predictively. And so with that, thank you everybody, happy to take questions, but hope you enjoy.
Thank you. Before we jump into the panel, we have one or two questions for Angelo up here.
Yeah.
So can you override predictions? Let's say the AI model gives you the wrong prediction. Can you as a human override that?
Yeah, so the question was, can you override a prediction that the AI model made because you look at it, it's like, this is trash, this is stupid. That's the thing. We always want to keep the human in the loop. And at all times, we want to provide the human with context, but we don't want to replace the human. And the only time I ever want this AI to make a decision on behalf of the human is truly when there's a potential failure at stake. And if we're about to lose a batch of drugs, that's really bad, and we want to take action on behalf of that user. Otherwise, the whole goal is just to surface information to the human so that he or she can make the best decision with the best context. Because they may not be aware of the full context, but the AI does have full context. And that's where we don't want Bob to have to go search for an answer. We want to surface it for Bob so that he has the most information to be able to make the best decision at that moment in time. Does that make sense? Yeah, I want to replace humans. That's my whole thing. I just want to support them with the best information. Any other questions? Yep.
Hi. So this is interesting, and I want to know how do you evaluate or assess your risk?
Knowing that your AI actually working for a medicine or drugs, right? So how do you assess the risk that it doesn't go beyond whatever it has to do?
Yeah, this was a fantastic question. So in our case, this is AI being used for mission critical systems that can kill somebody, right? Because if the AI is making a decision that then ultimately creates a bad drug product, some human will take that drug product and that will create a very, very bad outcome, potentially kill them, or truly. So how do we think about using AI in one of the most critical industries out there, which is not just manufacturing, but life science manufacturing, right? Because we're not making widgets here, we're making drugs that go into humans' bodies. So the really nice thing about our world is it is regulated. And I know that sounds so strange because most founders say, oh, regulation's so bad, I don't like it. But in our case, I'm a huge Formula One fan, and for those of you, anyone Formula One fans? Yeah, exactly. What I love about Formula One is that everybody gets the same set of rules. But the goal is how do you out-innovate the next team, even though everyone has the same set of rules. And so for me, that's kind of how I look at it. I flip the script. I say, hey, these rules are there to ensure that the drugs that I'm taking, my kids are taking, my family is taking are safe. Well, then how can I push the boundaries within that set of rules? So what we do within the regulatory framework is there's something called GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices. It's a set of rules that all software in life science manufacturing has to follow. And then what that says is we have to test that software to have a predictable outcome. We have to ensure that when someone clicks a button, there's a predictable outcome on the other side. And so what we did is we built out what we call validation tests, where we will eval. I know you guys, I'm sure you see this all the time, there's a bunch of LLM evals. We do something similar. We give it a series of challenges. We know what the results should be based on a human. I don't want to say it's borderline reinforcement learning, but you can argue a little bit. It's more eval than it is RL. But the takeaway is that we go through a series of tests, and as long as the AI outscores 80% of what a human would do, we're like, great, this is a good outcome. If not, we cannot launch that feature because it could create an adverse effect, and that's very bad. And so we use the regulatory guidance which says you must test your software, you must prove it, and then we set a threshold that's pretty high, kind of the same as a human outcome. And as long as it evals against that and it comes out, well, high five. Otherwise, we can't use this thing in product. And what we've seen so far is when you take the corpus of knowledge and use a RAG technique, retrieval augmented generation, where we enrich the LLM with all of our manufacturing data, we are seeing very, very high percentages matching that eval benchmark because it's all in our data. It's all our data, it's all in context window, and it just gives a way, way, way higher response rate, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you.
One more? Oh, we got one last one, sorry.
All right, cool.
Thank you
Let's
very much.
keep this one short and get the panel.
Going on the idea of the data, I was curious, when it comes to having too much context, I know that degrades LLM performance. What is your method for determining the optimal amount of data to provide your AI so that you get the best possible outcomes?
Yeah, great question. So underlying our approach, we use LangGraph as our agent toolchain. So that's kind of step one, is we use a framework for the agentic toolchain. It makes a decision which tool use to use, and then we then have to decide how much context do we want to provide based on our vectorized data coming out of our database. That one is way more art than science, to be completely frank, but we try to find the best outcome based on those, I'm using the word evals, we call it validation. I'm kind of translating to what AI would, the AI ecosystem would define it as, but we try to dial it in based on our validation, quote unquote, eval scripts later on, and try to find the best balance. Because there's also a reality of how much this stuff costs. Like, it costs us money every time we hit the LM. So there is a little bit of an art to it still today. There's less of a science, at least, of what we found. But I think that's a great segue to the panel because my head of engineering is here, and I'm sure he can answer more questions to that. So thank you, and head off stage.
Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you. All right, we're going to our panel here. We're going to do a short interactive panel. That means if you have questions, you want something answered, I want you to interact and raise your hand and be part of this discussion. And then I want to make sure everyone has time at the end to network because that's where really all the relationships come together. So I would like to welcome Abe, Ethan, and John to the panel, and we're going to jump into it. Initially, this is actually going to be moderated by another techie who couldn't make it today. So now me, as a salesperson, is going to moderate a dev panel. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a podcast, right? Sounds like a little theme. So, all right, we're getting all set up here. Who here identifies as a techie or dev engineer? Show of hands. Very cool. And how many startup founders? Just so I know for the great. And any product managers? Okay, cool. That helps. With that, I would like to give everyone a chance to kind of do a quick introduction, let them know who you are, what you're working on, and then I will jump into a few questions and take it from there. Over to you, John.
This works good. I'm John, head of engineering at Apprentice. As you can see, I'm working on building out that piece of software there. Prior to that, my background is primarily in mobile engineering, and I did that at Apple and Jet.com down the road. So.
Great, thank you.
I'm Ethan. I'm a senior software engineer at The Grand. We connect communities of entrepreneurial mothers through digital sessions, in-person events. Actually, in less than 2 weeks, we have our first overnight retreat. So we're gearing up for that. In the past, I've worked at small video game studios, a variety of different music ventures. And
thank you.
Abe again, just chatted, but product manager at Postdog. I was previously a founder, and my company was acquired. I was building marketing software, and I'm building that now at Postdog.
Awesome, thank you. Maybe we can swap out mics here. Great, so I know traditionally, speaking of kind of shipping products and building, solutions, putting out a prototype used to cost a lot of money. It cost a lot of time as well for companies, and you might, put a year and a couple $1 million into a product just to find that no one's really using it. But now with this kind of next wave of, AI and agentic AI, people are able to kind of put out products faster and actually, test them and validate them with customers before, bringing it to market. So I just want to get your guys' perspective on kind of how developers here, how product engineers should be thinking about what they could do to get products out there quicker that will actually be adopted by the market.
So there's this whole move fast, break things approach, which, as you can see, if we move too quickly and break things, people die. That's usually bad. So we take a slightly different approach around how we get products to market. We try to move quickly and swiftly, but break almost nothing. We have to, or else really bad outcomes happen, which is obviously not the goal, and would kill the business. But we do still need to iterate quickly. We have to move faster than our competitors. If we were doing what they were doing, we would be one of them, and we would be also likewise out of business. And so for us, we have a very, very careful balance of hiring the right people. So it's effectively a matter of having high accountability and high autonomy combined together. So we need these engineers to feel really, really comfortable moving quickly and freely within a certain set of constraints. And outside of those constraints, they have to know when to call in for backup. So our product team is a form of backup for them. Designers, the quality systems team, quality assurance team. So it does come down to having a really tight squad of people, engineers, cross-functional group, and then they can iterate very quickly. We do rely heavily on beta environments, non-validated customers that are able to sort of take a little bit higher risk, so that once we actually get the software into production, GXP manufacturing, where people's lives are on the line, it needs to work. So we do take advantage of all the great alpha, beta, sort of incrementally lower tier environments where people can test things out and they know it's a test environment. And then likewise, our product team does a fantastic job of actually backing up everything we build with really great data. So for us, product is amazing, and they help our engineers kind of cut right to the chase and deliver very, very, very quickly.
Great, thank you. Ethan.
Yeah, so for us, the core of our product is human connection. So it changes very rapidly depending on the needs of our community, and that requires us to build out new features and sometimes entirely different platforms very quickly. We do have the luxury of not having to deal with such a strict set of requirements in terms of avoiding error rates and such. So yeah, we've really taken advantage of how quickly you can build out anything using AI.
Wonderful.
For us, it's actually, we're lucky in that we're building dev tools, and so we're a company full of engineers, so usually the first step for us is just dogfooding it. We start off like a really small team when we want to build a product. There's usually one engineer on it. They build a prototype, the rest of the company starts to use it. And then if it's successful, we start to sort of ramp up that team. But yeah, I think because we dogfood most of our products, it's pretty quick. And we're fine releasing it and letting it break, so we do that as soon as possible.
Right, so it's more about kind of break it quickly, fix it, and figure out if there's actually need for it, and then not wasting too much time with it. Great, so I mean, I know a lot of products are built with a lot of cool features, and there's a focus on that. But I think a lot of the theme of tonight's event too is being more kind of customer centric and really listening to the voice of the customer and building to the needs of the people out there. So even with tech moving fast, nothing really beats talking to the customer and getting a sense of what the market needs. So I'm just curious how you guys are thinking about kind of conversations with the customer and making sure that what you put out there is really what's desired and what's going to make a difference.
So for us, obviously, our product team will do a lot of the talking with the customer. It's an incredibly deep domain of manufacturing that we work in. Making a drug isn't something everyone knows, how to do. So our product team has a very, very long, large amount of experience in that industry. Going once, going twice. And so,
basically, how are you talking to customers to make sure there's a real need for what you're building?
Yes. So a lot of our functionality is actually it's pretty well understood. Not many customers are totally reinventing the wheel. I think the AI piece that you just saw is by far the most interesting thing we've built in quite a while. But otherwise, it does come down to some pretty well understood manufacturing processes that fall into a specific set of categories that we can benchmark against, and ultimately quality is one of our major points of feedback. Does it work? Does it work well? Does it work quickly? Does it work at scale? Does it work for all of the different permutations of configuration? And so, we're very careful around that feedback. And that comes in the form of tickets, obviously good feedback from the customers, bugs, they do exist in the industry, it's just a matter of managing them well. And the engineers then can take all of that information and bring it back into the product and make sure it does exactly what we want it to do. So,
Great.
Yeah, as I mentioned, so the core of our product is human connection, and you were actually talking about this briefly before our panel. It's taken a lot of humility to work on an app where the app itself is not the central product, but it's been a really rewarding experience because every single feature that we roll out is needed by the community and usually suggested by the community. So, very different than when you're working on something like a video game or an app where the entire experience exists within that app. But it's been very reassuring to know that each thing that we roll out is something that is actually needed by our users.
I think for us, the approach is a little bit different. We sort of just after we dog food, we just release it, and then because we have a product engineering focus as opposed to regular software engineers, they are responsible for most support. So a lot of the feedback they get is either through support, and then for a subset of customers, we set up direct Slack channels, and we're getting feedback on a daily basis there. Product managers do set up user interviews as well, but engineers are also expected to do that on their own as well.
Great. I have one more question I want to share, and then I want to open it up to the audience because, again, I want this to be interactive and get your questions answered. But mine's more from a hiring and kind of recruitment side of things. So if you have any insight, whether from founders out there who are thinking about hiring the next wave of product engineers and developers, or those out there who are looking for a job, with this new way of building and prototyping, what advice would you give either side of the coin as far as what talent they should be looking for and what kind of skills they should be presenting? Maybe we'll start with Abe and work our way back.
Sure. So since we focus on product engineers as opposed to software engineers, a big thing that we focus on is do people have their own side projects? Have they built something from scratch on their own? That initiative is very important to us. I think more than 60% of all our engineers have done that. So that's usually that's a strong signal for us.
Yeah, I just don't want to answer. Always the biggest thing for me is checking out, their GitHub or wherever else they host their code bases, seeing what personal projects they build, and are they building these projects to just explore a new framework or try out some new architectural decisions, or are they building for an end user goal? How will this be used, and are they building that with that mindset?
Makes sense.
So I think from my standpoint, I probably place lower value on those external projects. I mean, if you looked at my GitHub, you'd see a lot of maybe college stuff. I mean, it's not always that easy to find time at the end of your workday to build out something that's really great. And you spend the majority of your day building something really great for your employer, hopefully. So for me, I think the biggest thing that I like to see, and obviously side projects are indeed fantastic. If you contribute to the Rust open source project or Swift or any of these low-level languages, fantastic, amazing. I'd love to look through your PR history. That's awesome. But I personally don't have time for that. As an example, I'll use myself. So I think in an interview though, what we look for is that people are making good risk-adjusted trade-offs over and over and over again, because that's effectively engineering in general, is making a sequence of really smart, intelligent trade-offs and knowing when to call in for backup, ask for help, knowing when you don't know what you don't know. And so it's one thing to say this person can work very quickly. It's one thing to be a master of your engineering craft. Those are sort of table stakes, you have to do those things or else you're probably going to be bad at your job. But the good engineer, I think they prefer to then go so far as to say I'm given this really challenging feature, can I build it and can I do it consistently over time? And so system design questions I think are really important because you get to understand the trade-offs of what did you choose to do, what did you choose not to do, why did you choose this? And so I think make sure you're communicating not only what you're thinking in the interview, but also what other options you considered, and what you chose not to do. I think the not part is as important as the not part. So.
I like it. All great advice. Thank you, guys. I would like to open up now to the audience. I'm sure we have a couple questions. Start with Janet.
Yeah, thanks for this. I think my question is going to be towards Ethan. I just found your transition from game developer to this company that is really helping people through transitions, especially moms, I believe you said at the beginning of your intro. Maybe just would be very curious to learn what is the specific problem that the company is trying to solve. And I say problem in quotation marks because usually when we talk about building software and apps, there's something that we're trying to address or fix or make better. And then how have you found your transition?
Yeah, so I think the biggest learning so I started in tech and then moved into the video game industry, and then my biggest learning from the video game industry, excuse me, was that they start playtesting their games super early. Very small pools, like pre-alpha, if you use that term, and then slowly roll it out to larger cohorts and stages. And to what Abe was saying about having product engineers involved in user studies and user research, I've carried that over from the industry with me. So at the very beginning of feature planning, I try to involve our internal members, anyone in our network who we think makes sense for people to interview for those kinds of features and or maybe potential customers. And it again really helps inform us when we're deciding on what we want to put on the roadmap and make sure that we're building something that people will actually use. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Great, thank you. Over here.
Yeah. This is a question actually for each of you. What do you think is the most overrated and underrated trend in AI?
Hot topic.
Spicy. Trend might be a strong word for this, but throwing AI at a problem and seeing if it solves it, like you should have a real problem first and then see if AI can actually solve the problem as opposed to just chucking AI at it and being like, oh, we're doing something innovative. You might actually be making your users' lives worse. And so, like, be honest with your evaluation of what is AI actually adding value. Why are we doing it? Could we do it some other way that doesn't involve AI? There's a tremendous amount of great technology out there. ML is an example of this. I don't know if you were being like very particular about AI versus ML, but like, does it always have to be generative AI? Like, the stochastic nature of these models makes them very prone to error. Like, maybe there's other ways to do it. So keep an open mind. And the ultimate goal is to solve problems for your customers and your users, not to sort of make yourself feel great that you use the buzzword.
I'll just second that.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult one. I think maybe one thing that's missing is like, even when you have the AI doing things, you want it to still produce some sort of output that's understandable by humans. Like even for us, like we don't have as high stakes as Premise does. But like in the messaging product that I'm working on, you can have one version where you just prompt some chat interface and say like, hey, send messages off to these people, and it does it, and you have no idea how that worked. Or you could have that AI build out a graph which people can go and look at and understand all the different steps. So I think like just making it more understandable is maybe something that's missing a little bit. Still human readable at the end of the day.
Cool. And what I think is the most overrated thing, I kind of agree with everyone here, is just calling yourself an AI startup and talking about all your AI features and not really focusing on a problem you're solving. I saw the same thing kind of happen with blockchain. A lot of people love to just call themselves a blockchain startup. It's like, well, no one really cares about what problem are you solving, and the tech should be, behind the problem you're solving. So I think that's something that a lot of people just jump onto these trends. Again, echoing them. Kind of the most underrated AI thing that people aren't talking about so much is kind of empathic AI, which I'm very involved in with a couple of my ventures. But how can AI be leveraged to help people who need emotional, mental health support, things like that? Not necessarily, I'm not saying replacing therapists, but for those kind of who are maybe waiting on hold for support or waiting in between sessions, things like that. How can this wave of empathic AI be leveraged? So I think that's something that's happening and not as many people are talking about. Yeah, sure, jump into the underrated.
I think the underrated for me, I don't think anything is underrated in AI in this day, at least in 2025. Maybe, yeah, everything's kind of overrated, but or at least rated fairly. But underrated, I think there's a ton of interesting, like the orchestration layer on top of the LLMs. I think doesn't get enough credit. The LLM does a lot of great things by itself, but the way you can get LLMs to sort of collaborate with each other, like a network of small language models with an orchestration agent that knows how to route requests, you might get a really interesting output there. So a lot of that's the layer on top of the LLM itself, as opposed to chucking everything into the context window and hoping it comes back with the right result. The LLM is a judge approach. There's tons of different research papers out there that you can read, but I think orchestration layer is a really, really interesting area that gets taken for granted.
Anything else you guys want to add?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to take one more question because I want to make sure we all have a little time to network with each other at the end. I saw that one over there, so let's close out with your question.
So, my question basically, I'm also like the founder partner with PropTech with SSCD recently. We are working on like very industry specific data, like real estate, and we also have the challenges where you train the model, you have the free data, you have very licensed data, and the little bit challenge like the way we need to source it and extract it and have it trained in the way we want it. So my question is like, how you guys because one of the examples I see like the chemical things, it's a lot of industrial things specific and way the AI things are moving, like we want to generate a solution in a way that it can be useful to the diversified businesses. However, in dealing with the licensed data, like you want to particularly train that, are there any agreement you coming with that, okay, so we have to get it this one, get it in our database, vector, whatever in the form, or I just want to know, I'm curious, like I have so many challenges reading this.
I think to summarize your question, to make sure I'm getting this one right, like basically the data is very sensitive to the clients, and how do we train it? We don't want to, like client A is concerned that their data is being used to train a model, and it's commingled with all this other very sensitive data, and how do we kind of navigate that situation? Is that a fair summary of your question? It's a good question.
There are two sections which I understand, you can correct me like, the one is like, I have my own portal where the user comes and put, and I can get those data, like, I can get it, okay, it's my data, like, because they come with my home, my portal, I can get it. And I want to generate a report, let's say, for example, going the financials, some of the free report, I take it and I just compare it out of it. But there are certain papers, I want to pull it in order to make it some realistic stats out there. But that is not, I don't want to pull that because there is something there trademark. Okay, so there are certain, like you got your data, and there are some data which you need to support your assumptions in order to generate something.
So I don't know if we have that exact problem, but I can speak to the first part. The second part I'm not sure I can speak to, maybe someone else can, but the first part in terms of like sensitive data, obviously like a drug recipe is incredibly sensitive. And if we were to sort of take all of our recipes and train a single model and commingle all the data, we would be out of business. So we don't do that. So we do rely heavily on inference time responses from the LLM. We rely heavily on tool calling, and we can basically give a customer a bespoke trained model on their own data, but we do not use everyone's data together in one giant pool of drug manufacturing information. So we're very sensitive with the infrastructure that we deploy, the topology, where the data sits, where it lives, all of that, data residency, and we never mix data. So if a customer has a vector DB, it is their vector DB. Yes, that's like infrastructure heavy, but it's necessary for the industry we're in.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, we also ensure that our different cohorts, because we have sort of different tracks for different people joining our communities, we also don't exchange data between our different, we don't have any self-hosted models or anything, but between our different LLM projects, or we have a couple models hosted by other platforms that we use. We actually don't have any AI-powered features, because we've kind of taken a product position that doesn't really work for our brand and our users' needs. But we do use AI tools a lot on the back end, and I do think if we were to mix the data between our different cohorts, I mean, it would just be a mess. So it's very important that we maintain those separations.
We don't have this problem yet. Like, we don't have any AI features where we're training across like in every single company's data sets. Right now, it's mostly just doing work for people. So unfortunately, I don't have any insights to give you at the moment on that.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Everyone give it up for our panelists. All right. You can also, everyone give it up for Apprentice, the staff. Everyone's been so helpful and gracious with the space. So thank you, Apprentice. Thank you, PlayTalk, for sponsoring. Two last things, and then we can all network and connect with each other. One, Amari made a QR code that she wants you to scan on her way out because she's been awesome, and she wants to know how she can help make the event better because she's always really good at that. Lastly, I'm going to take a selfie with all of us, so hold on, 1 second. You guys could talk a little bit. It's just a picture.